Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into literally one of the most massive human stories on the planet, the evolution of India's population policy. It's this incredible journey from what was long feared as an uncontrollable demographic explosion to what is now shaping up to be, potentially, the greatest economic advantage of the 21st century.
Here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. The population explosion. 2. Causes of the boom. 3. Early policies. 4. The National Population Policy of 2000. And finally, 5. The demographic dividend.
All right, jumping right in. Section 1. The population explosion. Take a second and try to wrap your head around this number. 121.02 crores. According to the 2011 census, that was the population of India. To really put that into perspective on a global scale, India houses 17.5% of the entire world's population. But here's the kicker. It has to sustain all of those people on just 2.4% of the world's land area. That is a massive squeeze.
But, we're not just talking about cold data points on a spreadsheet here. This is a dense, incredibly diverse tapestry of real human lives in a developing nation. And when a population grows this rapidly, it creates immense pressure on literally everything: resources, land, agriculture, infrastructure, you name it. Just imagine a standard, relatively spacious Jeep back in 1961. Now, picture that exact same vehicle in 2011, literally overflowing with people. That visual right there perfectly captures the population explosion. Between 1971 and 2001, India went through a period where its annual population growth rate actually surged past 2%. The population was just vastly outpacing the country's economic development.
So, Section 2. Causes of the boom. How exactly did this explosion happen? Well, the crucial thing to understand here is the survival rate. That's basically just the difference between the birth rate and the death rate. When the gap between those two widens, boom, your population skyrockets.
And here is exactly why that gap widens so much in India. On one hand, you had stubbornly high birth rates. This was driven by the universalization of marriage, where marriage is seen as a strict religious and social obligation, plus a pretty low legal age for getting married. Add in widespread poverty, where more kids are basically viewed as extra economic support, and a heavy dependence on manpower-driven agriculture. But then on the flip side, death rates plummeted. We're talking widespread improvements in medical facilities, the eradication of epidemics like plague and cholera, massive drops in infant and maternal mortality, and way better disaster management. Essentially, modern medicine was keeping people alive longer, but those older societal norms, they kept birth rates incredibly high.
Naturally, a widening gap like that required some immediate national attention. So let's look at Section 3, Early Population Policies.
India's policy evolution actually spans decades. We kick things off all the way back in 1952 with the Family Planning Program, then we shift over to the Family Welfare Program in 1979, and finally arrive at the superstructured National Population Policy in 2000. Let's break these down to see how the government's approach really matured over time.
So that pioneering 1952 Family Planning Program, that actually made India one of the very first countries in the world to launch a measure like this on a national scale. The main goal was straightforward: reduce the birth rate. And the core philosophy was Planned Parenthood, the idea that the birth of a child should be determined by choice, not by chance. I love that phrasing. But this early program wasn't super successful, honestly. It struggled big time against the lack of public awareness, false religious beliefs, and frankly, some pretty inconsistent government policies at the time.
So by 1979, authorities realized they kind of needed a different angle. And that brings us to the Family Welfare Program. Notice the crucial name change there, from planning to welfare. This wasn't just about reducing raw numbers anymore, it was a massive shift toward a much more holistic approach. It tried to integrate family planning services right in with maternal health, child health, and nutrition. The logic makes total sense. If you ensure the health and survival of infants and mothers, parents are naturally way less compelled to have huge families just out of fear of losing their kids.
And all of this growing understanding really culminated at the turn of the millennium, Section 4, the National Population Policy 2000, or NPP for short.
The ultimate target outcome of the NPP 2000 was simple, but honestly profound: creating a small, healthy, and supported family unit. The policy formally recognized that you can't just control population size in a vacuum, right? You absolutely have to actively improve the quality of human life at the exact same time.
There are 7 key features of this policy that really prove modern demographic strategy is deeply human. Number 1, free and compulsory school education up to the age of 14.
Numbers 2 and 3 set some really aggressive targets, reducing the infant mortality rate to below 30 per 1,000 live births and the maternal mortality rate to below 100 per 100,000 live births. Number 4 mandates universal immunization of kids against all vaccine-preventable diseases. Number 5 actively encourages delayed marriage for girls, saying it shouldn't be earlier than 18 and preferably after 20. Number 6 targets the prevention and control of communicable diseases. And finally, number 7 sets the big, ultimate macro goal: achieve a stable population by the year 2045. Notice how almost all of these steps are literally just about empowering people through health and education?
Because when you educate and empower a massive population, something absolutely incredible happens. Section 5. The demographic dividend.
So what exactly is a demographic dividend? Well, it happens when the proportion of working-age people is significantly higher than the non-working dependents in a population. Because of its past growth, India now finds itself sitting on an incredibly high potential of human resources. If this vast, young population is healthy, educated, and motivated, which is exactly what the NPP 2000 has been working toward, they stop being a strain on resources and instead become the ultimate resource themselves. This dividend is widely considered to be one of India's absolute greatest competitive advantages. We're talking about a workforce that will fundamentally shift the global economy and impact markets worldwide.
So that leaves us with the ultimate question. Will India's massive population ultimately go down in history as an uncontrollable demographic explosion? Or will it be remembered as a powerful, totally unprecedented demographic dividend? Honestly, the answer depends entirely on how effectively those health, education, and welfare policies we just talked about continue to be realized in the lives of over 1 billion people. And that is a wrap on our explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.